Hi, Steve, KB3ORG, and welcome to part 2 of our assembly and review and test of the Ender 3D printer, the Pro 3. The previous video we covered all the assembly and putting everything together, which it went together in a couple hours. It was really easy. Today we're going to print out a couple of items, and instead of using the test items that's included on the memory card, which goes in, right down here. I designed a couple things. I'm just going to jump right in and use one of my own designs of a couple things to print out to see how it works. The material I'm going to be using is PETG. That's the filament instead of PLA. PETG is a little more durable than PLA, and more importantly, it doesn't have any odor when it's being 3D printed, which is a big consideration because the workshop is indoors with other people to take into account, so I don't want a lot of odors floating around. So we're going to jump right in now, and we'll start the print, and we'll see how it came out. Before we get started, I wanted to go over a few things you have to do to really prep the machine before you print. One of the most important things you have to do is you actually have to level this bed right here so that the filament head that the material comes out of is an equal distance, four corners and in the middle. Some machines have an auto leveling feature at $230. This machine does not have that. You have to kind of use a piece of paper underneath the head until it just grabs to even that out. And it's very important, and I really struggled trying to get an even amount on both sides. So I started to do as best I could, and then I started to do a print, and the filament was not sticking to the bed when it was coming out. It would just jumble it all up and make a big bird's nest of plastic. So I stopped and I did some research and found that out of the box, the heating bed on these machines is not actually perfectly flat. So it's very hard to get an even amount of space that you need on each of the four corners in the middle. With some research and our friend Google, I found that we needed to really add a piece of glass that you can get on Amazon. It's cut just to the size of this printer, and that gives you a nice even surface, and it's held on with these little clips right here that office paper clips. But I found that once I had this glass on here, I was able to level the bed really good, and the PETG, the filament, was beginning to stick to the bed. So I stopped it, and now we are going to pick up again, and we'll start printing. Okay, I use Cure, which is a free software from Ultimaker, to create the folder, or rather create the file. I'm not going to go into detail into that because there are hundreds of YouTube videos and information out there that you can learn how to do that. But I created the G-code, put it on the SD card, put the SD card in here. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going and choosing the file right here, print from SD card. Come down here, I choose my file, and now it's going to wait until everything comes up to temperature, and then it's going to start the print, which should be any second now. The head's already at 250 degrees, the bed's got to come up to 80 degrees, and that should be done any second now, and then the unit should start the print. One of the first things you have to do is you have to home the device so it goes into the right corner. And now it is starting to print. Does a little bit of a test here to get some of the junk out of the printer. It's going to come over here and create what's called a skirt, which is an outline of the object. And what that does is, again, it gets a lot of the old material out of the print head, and allows also to filament to start to flow, so when it does the actual print, it sticks real well. Does this for about, I think it does it 5 times. Okay, so now it's creating the first layer of our object. Now it's going to go in and it's going to start filling in this big open area here, and it'll just build up from there. Now this print takes about an hour and 40 minutes to do, believe it or not. So I'm not going to make you guys sit through that. So we're going to use the magic of video editing, and we'll come back when it's all done. As you can see here, that bottom layer is now beginning to build up. It's almost done its first pass. And what I'm going to do is, once the first pass is done, I'm actually going to go in and manually lower the head temperature 10 degrees from 250 to 240. And that's so you don't get what's called stringing, which is small wispy strands between different spaces and different parts of your item. Okay, so I went ahead and I printed a couple things. Didn't make you guys sit through that. But one of the things I was really interested in the 3D printer was making was an Anderson power pole socket that goes into a panel. And you can see here it's got the two pairs of Anderson power poles going there. It printed the threads on the back. And the file also had a nut. And amazing detail and precision. It actually screws on and holds. I'm sure that I'll probably put some glue in here just to make sure it doesn't back out once it's in the panel. But I was really impressed with this. And the file came from a website called Thingiverse, which for 3D printing, it's a repository of all kinds of different files for almost anything you can think of. And I put in Anderson power poles into their search box, and it brought back several different styles, and I liked this the best because it was round. There isn't what they call, there's a little bit of stringing on the inside. I don't know if you can really see that, but just, you know, take a knife or a little piece of sandpaper, you can get those all right out. You have to be careful because they had, that one file had two different types in there. This particular white one has a little notch on both sides to keep it in place when it's in the panel. I didn't want that, so I went ahead and I printed it again in black, and this time I used the socket that did not have that, so the nut actually screws on and holds completely flat. So I liked, that'll be real nice. And like I said, this is made out of PET G, so this will be fairly durable. I'm willing to take some tests on that. Now, purely for fun, I printed out a little nameplate, all in black. It's about 2 mils, 2.5 mils thick at the base, and the letterings are about 2 mils high. And it's my call sign. I don't know if you can really see that on there. There you go, KB3ORG. And I thought that was really neat. I might make a couple of these to put on some of my boxes. I might paint this to get the lettering to stand out more. But okay, so that's it for this two-part series on the Ender 3 Pro 3D printer. Like I said, it was $230 off of GearBest. I'll put some links down below. I used some PET G. Like I said, I printed out some nifty parts already. This is going to be a really addictive piece of equipment in the shop because my mind is just reeling with all kinds of items I can print up. I hope this helped some people on deciding whether or not to buy the unit. I didn't go into a lot of details because there are hundreds of videos out on YouTube on the Ender 3 Pro. and how to align it and add-ons and everything else. I just had no experience whatsoever in assembling one, using one, and I just wanted to show you that it's actually very easy to get started. A couple hours of assembly, you just order in a couple of the extra parts that we said, like that glass plate, and believe it or not, a can of hairspray, you spray that down on the glass, and that helps that first layer really adhere to the bed. If you have any questions, feel free just to drop a note and I'll answer as best I can. Until the next video, I'll see you. KB3ORG, Steve. Take care.